Hey everybody, it's John, owner of the Simplest Biz, about the pallet business. Glad you're here today and checking in what's going on. I'm going to cover today what I did wrong in the beginning when I started this back in 1998, when I started recycling pallets back then, to give you some insight so you can avoid the pain that I went through when I first started. It wasn't all rainbows and unicorns. Even though I got some traction, there was a lot of stuff that I really caused myself some grief in the beginning, and I wanted to share that with you today. Okay, very important. Also, before we move any further, I'm giving away some free training now, and it's a 40-minute video on what you're going to need to know to run a pallet business. And I go over just about every topic under the sun. I can't cover everything, but it's 40 minutes long of really good information. So you'll see it in the description area where you need to go to opt in to get that. I'll email it to you. So if you opt in under the link in the description area below this video, you will be able to get that information, okay? And get that video for you to go over. One other thing, subscribe to this channel and click the bell so you can get more notifications about new videos coming out. Now, let's talk about what I did wrong back in 1988 when I started this. Right off the bat, I can't blame myself. I was basically just got exposed to this, and I didn't know any better, but I was selling to a pallet yard like a scavenger when I first stumbled upon this, I was first exposed to it, because I didn't know any different. We were dealing with one size pallet, and I actually have a picture of that pallet, so to give you folks some reference. Let me switch over. It's called a standard 4840 pallet, and I've talked about them before. It's a four-way, meaning it's 48 long, 40 inches wide here, and it has 4 notches, so you can get it from the front or the side. So it's a four-way pallet. And I was only dealing with that one size because that's the only size the pallet yards would buy. And right off the bat, think about it. The pallet yards aren't paying you what you really should get. They're paying you a bucket of $52, $1.50 back then. $1.50 might be $2 these days. Regardless, I'm leaving a ton of money on the table doing it in that manner. In addition, I'm only going after this size pallet back in 1998 because I don't know any better. I'm not exposed to the other stuff right off the bat, but in short order, I was. Here's the problem of doing it this way, besides getting the money cut out from under you just selling to a pallet yard when you can actually sell to businesses. But the big problem is when you come across a supplier and they have a bunch of different styles of pallets, including some of these that you see in the picture, I'm having to dig through that manually to get these out because this is all I know back in 1998, right? So here's what happened. I am setting up deals. I got some traction in the beginning. Once I figured out I don't want to sell the pallet yard because I want my own accounts, I'm only still dealing with this one pallet. And it caused a lot of grief. I painted myself into a corner because I thought this was all there really was to be sold in the industry out of ignorance. And think about this real carefully. One, I'm not serving the supplier correctly because I'm only getting that one size and knocking stuff over. Two, I'm having to work my butt off because I'm having to pick this stuff out manually because I only want this one size and leaving the other stuff. Three, I'm not serving that supplier the right way because they want it all gone, not me making a mess. So yes, at one point I was a scavenger. Was I making money? Yeah, but it was very stressful because I'm only concentrating on this one thing. Right? And my customers as well, I learned later on in years that this solution of the pallet you're seeing on the screen is not the correct solution in a ton of cases. And I had to figure out not only how to move this, but make this particular style, the 4840 standard pallet, the smallest part of my business. And the reason why is because there's 3 legs to this stool. There's the supplier, the buyer, and me that has to win. So me not servicing the supplier well created supply issues, stress issues, running out of pallets issues, having to scramble for that size that you see on the screen issues. And I had to figure out a way to where I would not be in that stressful situation. And it took me a very long time to figure this out, and a lot of work and a lot of legwork, a lot of questions, a lot of answers, a lot of solutions I had to come up with by trying to figure out what else is available to me and how I can make this more stress-free, this business model. I'll give you an example. Dealing with this size pallet, I'm after it. The pallet yards are after it, and the scavengers were after it back in 1998. So I would get a supply, kind of like the stacks you see, one week, and it'd be all wonderful and good. But since the other guys were after this size as well, one, I'd either have to up my price, two, they'd be gone the next week. And then I would have to scramble to find more of these to complete an order of 150, 200, 250 pallets that I had on my plate that day. That's no way to run this business. I'm not against 4840s. I have supplies of it, suppliers for this particular style but a small portion of my business, which is, it used to be 90% of my business. At first, it was 100%. Shortly thereafter, it was 90%, and now it's 10%, to give you an idea of how I flip the coin on this, okay? But during that time period, what I was doing wrong was concentrating on this standard 4840 exclusively. One, selling to pallet yards. Two, trying to sell them to businesses. And three, scrambling for supply and the stress of it. So let's move forward. I'm going to bring up another picture and help you understand a few things of where it all changed. Here's my little old truck. Y'all seen it in other videos. It's nothing fancy, of course, but I want you to pay attention to the style the pallets are on this truck. Do you see that they're sorted? Nope. They are stacked up in this particular supplier's lot, just the way they are. So they have to sort them. Do they look broken? No, they look in great shape. They're perfectly good pallets. Or some of these pallets you'll see, especially on this other side, they're even heavier duty. They'll have 4 runners on some of these pallets, right? Where the 4840 only had 3. So it's in some cases a heavier duty pallet. Some of these darker woods, that's hardwood pallets. The slats are thicker. I don't want to get into too much of the minutia, but now, not only does he have this style pallet that you see on the screen, but he also has 4840s for those few customers that I need as well. So I'm doing mixed loads of pallets that I'm getting for free, right? I'm not selling to the pallet yard. I'm not sorting. I'm not repairing. I don't need employees. The forklifts are loading on these on here. I'm not unloading like I was on day one. I'm not stuck in a corner as well. I'm not painting myself into a corner as well, because I know where all this stuff goes and the types of businesses that need this type of stuff. And there are a huge number of them, but you need to know not only one, who they are, but how to switch them if that comes into play as well, from a standard pallet to this type situation, and what businesses work the best to do that. And it took me forever to figure it out. I've done the legwork, okay, to get that situation under control where I was not stressed out trying to hunt for that standard pallet that we were talking about here. So what does this translate into when you know how to do this? It translates into less stress, lower overhead, more fun, more free time, more streamlined, faster work day. And most of all, it answers the question for that supplier as well, so I didn't have to worry about that supply. I was now able to become exclusive for that supply, because not only was I getting this, I was getting all the other stuff as well, all the other sizes. I wasn't just trying to pick this out. I'm now getting other sizes. But then, several years go by, and guess what? Let me give you an example. Sorry, this is a little small. But then we have reels that came into play for my offering. So a lot of the suppliers would have reels and 4840s and mixed pallets. And now I'm the guy who knows how to move this. In addition, crates, dunnage, drums, Gaylord boxes, and all this other stuff from that supplier and take them directly to the buyer. Now, what's the better solution? Being stuck on this one style pallet and your whole business is hinged on this style pallet, or simplifying it and learning how to do this the right way and moving mixed loads of pallets, crates, dunnage, this, that, and the other. Now, I'm not saying you can't have accounts that are 4840s, like this guy, he's one of my students. Big money in it. If you can get the supply, and then portion of my business is that way. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff on the table that's available to us, okay? So there you go. And here's another example of, one of my students dealing with reels. So that being the case, in the beginning, it was hard. I was doing it wrong until I came across stuff like this and wanted to figure out how to do it the right way. And some people swear by the 4840. And our big accounts, like, the Fortune 500 companies using them, they do. There's a lot of money and a lot less stress dealing with a customer that needs a couple hundred pallets of the mixed stuff on a weekly basis, week after week after week, and then throwing on top of it the crates, the dunnage, and the wire spools and the corrugated boxes, that type of scenario, than it is dealing with that high cost, high in need 4840. I can broker some of the bigger deals, and that's taught as well in the training. But I don't want to get too far in the weeds. So reviewing back, yes, I had success in the beginning as far as the accounts I got. But I promise you, I was not doing it right. I was doing back-breaking work the wrong way. I wasn't getting this stuff lifted. I was selling to pallet yards in the very beginning, and even to the businesses I sold to in the very beginning, I was selling that standard pallet 4840, and it was a juggling act that was very difficult and stressful to maintain. I thank God every day that I switched and did it a whole different way. Okay? And I want to teach each and every one of you folks to do it that way as well, instead of being stuck in a 4840 standard game. Thanks for watching. I hope this gives you some clarity on this business model and the Simplest Biz. Go to thesimplestbiz.com. So go to the Simplest Biz for you, FOR, the letter U.com/info. Either one of those places, you can get some good information. And if you want that 40-minute free training, look in the description below, opt in, and the first or second email, you're going to get that 40-minute training on the day you opt in. Okay? You have a good one. John Wilker, The Simplest Biz, out.